I would have had to get better to die last week. Stupid allergies. And here's some science for you. It's getting worse for us all. I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Brain doesn't shut down like it's supposed to. I'll be talking about comedy and talking about comedians in the show today. Hey, if you get a chance, do me a favor. Hit subscribe, like, share, comment. If you're watching on the video version, well, then you're seeing what potentially is the greatest mullet in the history of mullets. If you're not watching on the video version, look it up YouTube. I'm at Bud Ford Comedy. It's a naturally red, perfectly flowing 1988 model mullet in 2026. It gets no better. Now, he's trying out for the NFL, and I hope he makes it because it's his dream. But I would hate to cover that up with a helmet. It's almost unfair. I don't believe Samson wore a football helmet. Thanks for your likes, your shares, your comments. I really appreciate that. Also today, Lowe's knows home improvement and winning the internet. I'll talk about that. It's going to backfire. It's going to burn them. Trust me. I appreciate the likes, the shares, and the comments. And anything you got to say, please feel free. I appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Now, got to where last week, though, I didn't trust feeling better anymore. All it meant was something worse was right around the corner. I was in that whole zone where I was like, is it a cold? Is it allergies? Or am I in the dying process? You wake up, you can't breathe, everything from here's on fire down. It's itching in your eyes, so you're Googling, what did I get into? And it usually ends when I get done at WebMD at 2 a.m. with me dying. It gets rough. Then the storm hits and you're like, whoo, I'm better now. That's the way it used to be. No, that's not what happens anymore. The rain is no longer clearing the air out. Boy, I got a big fat dose of science this week. I'm a meteorologist. You'd think I would have known this. Thunderstorms are not cleaning out the pollen. No, in fact, they're coming in like a ninja chef. They're cutting it up into smaller pieces. This is science. This ain't me making stuff up. This is my version of it. I saw it, I read it, I interpreted it. You should probably look it up if you're going to try to get money for investments for some form of correction, and I hope you do. So the science says the storms come through, it cuts the pollen, all of that stuff up into microscopic dust. So now, instead of good old-fashioned regular allergies, we're inhaling pollen espresso shots. We're not built for that. Excuse me. So that's basically, we go from light congestion to premium, concentrated, small batch artisanal suffering. It's not fair. And I found this out reading too, which I need to stop doing. Those tiny pieces, they don't just stay in your nose. No, they go straight to your lungs. When did that start happening? Now your body's like, I think we are a little stuffy. And it immediately says, no. Boop, boop, shut down. Everything stops. You go straight to bed. You're like, I lost 3 days to this. And you hear people talking about, I've done some reading over the weekend, thunderstorm asthma. And you're like, that's some meteorologist babology. Yeah, some of it is, that's not. Because here's what they're saying. And I'll tell you where that meteorology, babology comes from. A lot of times I don't want to go outside when they want me out on the weather deck. You know how they send your local weather guy outside and he stands out on the deck and he's like, look, sunny, or look, it's raining. Well, here's the deep, dark secret that my boss, I would never tell him. I tried to get out of that weather outdoor shot a lot because in Tulsa, it is always windy, always. As you can see, hair growth is not my jelly roll. So I had very little hair left, and they made me keep it. So when I sprayed it down and I went outside and I tried to keep what little bit of it I had laying down so it looked like I had more of it, no. The wind took it, moved it all over the place. Then I walked back inside. I used to look like I came dressed for TV. Then I looked like I beat up by a cat out in the parking lot. This is real. Storm rolls through, pollen explodes, and your lungs go, hey, That's disrespectful, and we're not built like that. So now the storm passes, then we walk outside, smell that air, I'm better now. It's not what's happening now. The air's got texture. Yeah, you breathe in, you feel like you just inhaled your couch. It's not really air. It's called pollen confetti. It might not be called that scientifically, but that's what I feel like it should be called. So now I check the weather for rain, but now I have to watch for wind a whole lot more than I used to have to. And I have to figure out where it's coming from. And then I can decide, is this a miserable day or is this a lungs optional situation kind of day? Because they can get worse. Because here we are in 2026, we don't really have an allergy season anymore, not just the old-fashioned allergy season anymore. We got extreme sports allergies, and that's fun. Or is it? My name is Bud Ford. I am a meteorologist. Thank you for spending time with me. I like to make people laugh. That's kind of the thing. I like to do clubs. I like to do that stuff. I've spent my whole life in one way or another trying to make people laugh. And then I read an article that talked about funny people, and it talked about how funny people die younger, which sort of felt personal and disrespectful all at the same time. And I wonder, because as someone who has been doing this their whole life and the reasons why, and this does not cover all comedians, please do not think I'm saying that. It is not a blanket statement. But I'll go on to talk about what the article says, and then I'll kind of put these two together, and then you can be like, oh, he may be right, or the guy's a fool, and that's fine too. I surmise that a lot of comedians struggle with some of the things that I entertain, which is your brain never really shuts down. Like, it never really stops. It just keeps going if they're wired like me. Brain shuts off? Never. It doesn't. Normal people get in bed at night. They're like, ho-de-do-de-do, think about a few things. Okay, I'm tired. I'm at sleep. I go to bed and I'm like, what if raccoons had jobs? And then I'm awake for 2 hours and 45 minutes designing them healthcare options for safety at work. That's what I'm talking about. And I made my whole life doing this. I've done radio, television. In radio, my job, I worked in the morning shows and afternoon shows, but the brunt of my life has been spent doing morning shows. And with mornings, my job was someone sets up the story, or I'll set it up, and then my brain just goes where it goes. I worked with Jerry Broadway for a while. It was called the Bud and Broadway Show for many, many years, and we reached some amazing heights. But with that show, Broadway and I clicked on day one. Like the first time we ever met, I could start rambling, and he knew where I was going with it and how to get it where it needed to be, which is an amazing talent. He's probably the most talented person I've ever been around in that regard. People often misunderstand funny, and I'm not saying for everyone, but it's not really a thing for, I think, most of us that we just turn on or turn off. It's more like a smoke detector, and it goes off and it says, hey, life's about to get stupid. And you know how life can get stupid, right? And that's when we go, hey, we have content now. We have something we can work with. You know how when you try to go to sleep and your brain starts pitching jokes? Not good jokes, just volume, just stuff. It's got open mic night. It's 2:17 a.m. You see yourself on stage. What if Chick-fil-A had a nightclub? What if the bouncer kept saying, my pleasure, as he asked you to leave, and got more forcible about it each time? Then you're like, why are you not sleeping right now? This is not joke night. They say lawyers, when you start talking, they pick up a nugget and move forward. Well, that's how I had to work in radio, right? I picked up the pieces that were funny. If somebody said something, I instantly turned the room to funny and got it back to wherever they were going. That was my job. So that's the way real life works for me. They took advantage of the talent that God naturally wired me with. So maybe the best way to explain that is you're in a conversation with someone, they're talking about something serious, and in my mind, I'm looking for where is the funny out? Where's the comic, the the comedic point where I can step out and switch the whole gear, because that's how my brain works. I don't think it's that I'm a bad person. I think it's how I survive the world. And I'm not the only comedian that lives like this. I'm not telling you that all comedians live this way by any means. We typically are running ahead and working through what's next to find the funny. Because here's something else I learned in studying communications. I've been studying strategic communications for a year or two now. I'm working through this master's program. And one of the things that I've learned in it is roughly 70% of everything we say is programmed to be the next thing. Meaning it's a matter of course. You walk in the morning, you say hi to your boss in the chair as always, and they say good morning. That's an auto response. There's no real thought there. So as comedians or people that are working through the next scenario, we have 5 or 6 proper directions and we have the funny direction. So we're just trying to figure out what you say next to get you there. Now, the article went on to say that part of the reason comedians die young is because they have the stress of irregular working hours. And I say we have a brain that treats every situation like it's content. Traffic, there's a bit. Doctor's office, bit. Family argument. That's a season finale. It's not a bit. We don't relax. We observe slower at times, but we don't really relax. And I think we're noticing that there's a lot of people that work this way because the content creators that you're seeing online, the massive amounts of content they're turning out. Now, I'm not talking about the very deliberate content that you're getting from brands. I'm talking about content that is based in just life and the things that are the momentum, documentation of the processes of daily life. That type of stuff, that's people who are driven and move. They're constantly pushing the ball forward. People that are in a lot of lives that you see now, YouTube is really rewarding that as a medium. We are seeing that change, and people that live through that live sort of thing and that they're ruled and that they live in that spontaneity and that's their fuel. That's people who oftentimes their brain works like mine. It doesn't slow down. I can respect that. You ever go on vacation and when you're on vacation, you're like, wait, that could be a good story later? That's sort of the same thing where you're still working. You just got a better background. So normal people get peace. They get to sit on a couch and they're like, wow, nothing's happening. I look at my girl sometimes when we're sitting on the couch and she's in such peace. She's in the very now, the right this very second. As comedians, you're not going to find that. Comedians don't typically have conversations that are based in now. They're always moving forward. The difference is when I'm sitting on the couch and I hear nothing happening, that's weird, it's suspicious, and it's uncomfortable. We don't have anything to make funny out of in this scenario. Someone has to say something. I think part of the reason that funny people die young, especially at that level, is because they oftentimes look for something to slow it down. How do you make it stop? And then they start finding substances, and those substances, in the way they end. Oh, Lord. I don't know if you saw this story. Not in the woods. Inside, like they were VIPs with a rewards account. 7 kittens just up there. They went and named them. Like they named them forklift, pallet, grass seed. Now you're not really rescuing anything. You really got inventory going on, don't you? Now, people saw this on the internet and went, that's so cute. No, it's not. Let me tell you why. That's how it starts. I've lived this. I don't trust animals that get close like that. Not the ones that show up unannounced. I learned this early in life. I used to work at a warehouse when I was a kid. I was a very young man, one of those first early jobs, right? And that place had everything in it. Not organized, just wildlife with barely a roof. Cats, birds, things you don't even clock at first. Like you're like, what was that? I've seen deer go through the warehouse like it's a Tuesday. Well, knowing that, I was young. I was tired that particular afternoon. I'd loaded up a couple of trucks. I'd put in a hard day making my $4.25 an hour. Don't hate. I was getting rich back then. So I might have done all that work in that warehouse in South Carolina. It was so hot, you know how it is, and not like Arizona hot, hot like you're in the dishwasher hot. So I might have rolled back to one of those really nice earth mover tires, and I crawled inside and I went to sleep. A little bit of a cool breeze. It was peaceful. Best nap I'd had in a long time. I woke up. I ain't even got the eye boogers out. I looked up and I saw a snake just looking at me, sitting on a 35-inch tire with a head down, face looking at me. What kind of snake? I don't know. I didn't check its ID card. I don't know snakes. It's looking at me like I owed it money. He wasn't really attacking. He wasn't even moving. Like this thing was just observing like a lion does. Like I was his problem now. You know, I ain't been camping but once since, and I slept in my vehicle. Not once. You ain't finna catch me outside, all laying on the ground where they live. That's their house. I don't break into people's homes like that. I'm not wired like that. So then when I hear about kittens setting up shop inside of Lowe's, I already know how this ends. I've never been a lover of cats. One, I'm allergic to them, but two, I just don't trust them. So, had a cat have a litter in this place I was staying in Alabama, right in between this privacy fence between the two units. It was a quadplex, and they had these walls, fence walls that went up about 4 or 5 feet high, just to give you a little bit of privacy, like a privacy fence, but only about 4 feet long. And in between them, we couldn't go in between them. Well, that cat could. Didn't ask me. Didn't consult. No nothing. Just moved in like it had a lease. Next thing you know, it is dropping kittens like it's trying to create its own workforce. Well, I didn't know when it showed up, it was covered in fleas. And I'm not talking a few fleas. I'm talking biblical. I walked outside to cook a steak on the grill, turned on the grill, walked back inside with my jeans on. I felt something on my leg. I didn't know what it was. I looked down and my jeans were black from my knees down. Something was wrong. I began questioning my entire life. My family didn't have dogs and cats when I grew up. We didn't have fleas. You know what the answer is. I had to bomb my house. I didn't have to clean it. I didn't spray a little something on it. Nope, full-fledged bomb. At that point, it's not really my house anymore. I was trying to take it back, rescue it from the arms of the devil. Tell you how that ended. I had to bomb it twice, sleep in my car one night. Yeah, it was not good. I guess everybody else has already been through it, but me, I did not know. That was one of the joys of having yourself a cat. So yeah, I'm going to say the kittens are cute right now. They're up there, they're small, they're harmless. Hey, little grass seed. Hey, Pete seed, you cute. Look at your cute little nose. You give that a little time, though. Next thing you know, you got cats roaming aisle 12 in logistics in the garden center. You walk in trying to buy mulch. They're like, hey, man, you need a cart today? Meow. I'm just saying. Anytime animals get all comfy around humans, look like that's going to happen. It ain't no feel-good story. It's a warning. Because I've seen this play out in real life. And it ends with you losing control of your house. Next thing you know, I'm shopping at Home Depot. And that's your fault. Probably wrong. Probably ain't going to end that way. I ain't even talk about the cats that fell out of the ceiling and landed on my accountant. And I sure didn't talk about the words that he said after, which were, I'm pretty sure, an HR violation, even in 1989. And very few things were. I'm Bud Ford. Thanks for spending time with me today. Thanks for subscribing. I'm at Bud Ford Comment.